This is the NA Happy Hour.
Welcome to this week's episode of the NA Happy Hour podcast. We are joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Bill Shufelt, founder and CEO of Athletic Brewing. Bill, I can't describe how awesome it is to have you on the podcast. So thank you very much for joining us.
This has definitely been like a goal for the three of us since we started the podcast. So
you got to start setting higher goals.
I don't know.
But I'm thankful for being here. Thank you guys for having me. It's a lot of fun to be on.
Absolutely. So just to kind of get a little bit more background from the horse's mouth per se, so I don't butcher everything. If you could talk a little bit about kind of how you started, where the initial idea for Athletic Brewing originated from, and your background as to how you decided to get into the non-alcoholic scene and all that stuff, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, and much like the community is these days, it's like it just originated out of my life, and it was a need that was unmet. Really, I hadn't really thought about non-alcoholic beer. It wasn't anything anyone was talking about in like 2015, 2014, and there hadn't been any innovation in 25 years. The market was super small, and there hadn't been an uptick in sales in maybe 20 years. There was like a small uptick in like the early 90s when O'Doul's and Sharps were introduced, and like then there was no innovation from 1992 to 2017. I was just very much a normal guy, had a job at a hedge fund, serious day job, loved doing any workout I could get my hands on, be it a 15-minute burpee session in my living room to an ultra marathon on the weekends. But like most people these days, I'm just trying to like make small changes in my life, like eating plant-based food sometimes, and like feeling like the fuel I was putting into my body was making me feel better, which was making me perform better at work, in my workouts. And I liked having a clear head at night too. And before I knew it, my lifestyle was just naturally leading me away from drinking. And it kind of came to a head in September 2013. I was training for my first ultra marathon, stopped drinking for a month, and I felt incredible. It was the best life hack I'd ever uncovered. I was sleeping through the night for the first time in a decade. I had this intellectual curiosity at night that was like I hadn't had since I was in like high school. And I think alcohol just like kind of washes a little bit of your like mindfulness and performance in life away. And removing that was just such a life hack that I never went back to drinking. I quit somewhat unintentionally, and it's been over 8 years now. And but in that, like I still love doing everything I love to do, like working out, I was going to 3 or 4 work dinners per week, going out to dinner with my wife and friends, and sports bars and weddings and all these races where you'd have beer at the finish line. And there was like, I'd made this positive health and lifestyle choice, and now all of a sudden I was in a penalty box in pretty much everything I enjoyed doing outside of work. And it was just so inconsistent with the choice I had made. And so before I knew it, I was like ordering non-alcoholic beers from Germany and like trying to find better non-alcoholic beer, and really realizing that even paying a lot of money to get beer shipped from Europe, it was nothing like good US craft beer. Mm-hmm. And so that then like it was like, it blew my mind that craft beer could be this incredible in the country. And like cocktail lists also, and like it's not necessarily I was the biggest beer snob in the world. I just loved craft beer and like good food. And so it blew my mind that brewers weren't making good non-alcoholic beer yet. And so I actually just started to read textbooks and try to figure out why not. And I downloaded the curriculums from UC Davis and Siebel, and before I knew it, I was spending all my weekends and nights reading about brewing non-alcoholic beer, or like brewing beer, but trying to figure out how to do better non-alcoholic beer. And like before I knew it, I was like 2 years into researching process. I had a full business plan written, and I had like it was kind of a combination of things where I saw the huge positive impact it had on my life, and then some of my friends actually stopped drinking or drank less behind me, like my brother, some friends, and I saw all their lives improve on like a very small scale. It was like 3 or 4 people, but like dramatic improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, if we made moderation or sobriety cool rather than something that had to be in like anonymous rooms and like something that was so shameful, we could potentially have the impact on tens of millions of people here, where there are 15 million Americans in the US with documented alcohol use disorder. And so, like, the impact was so clear. Like, I'd seen it in my own life, I saw it in my friend's life, and then there was a clear path to extrapolate that to like tens of millions of adults. And then, like, the economic opportunity was super obvious because beer is something that people enjoyed on like Friday and Saturday nights. Everywhere else in the not in the world, non-alcoholic beer is over 5% of the beer market. In the U.S., it was 0.3%.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at this 10 to 20 billion dollar economic opportunity plus a huge impact that changed people's lives for the better. Um, I mean, I had no chance of positively impacting anyone's life in my financial career, no matter how hard I worked. And like, so there was this emptiness every morning when I woke up. And um, I guess that's where the light went off. It was the impact. Like, I had always heard people say things like, love what you do, never work a day in your life. But um, I, I would have never in my life fathomed that that could be even close to truth. Like, it was such an absurd statement how much I hated my prior job. Like my Sundays were so bad that it would start to ruin my Saturdays, like the anxiety for Monday. And so, I mean, really, it was the moment I saw that impact and fulfillment. I quit my job 2 days later and have never stopped going down the rabbit hole since. So I guess that's how I got out the door on my prior career. Um, and like the second I walked out the door of that great, stable job, nobody nobody in the country was talking about non-alcoholic beer. No one wanted to talk about it. No brewers wanted to talk about it. No distributors, retailers. Everyone was saying there's no chance this is a market. No one's asking for it. And my hypothesis and all the survey work I had done said people would drink this if it was good. And there was like, and there wasn't such stigma attached to holding one in your hand too. Um, and so that's when I teamed up with John, our other co-founder, who's a hugely awarded, super talented craft brewer. And I took the research I had done to him, and we started home brewing in an empty warehouse for 9 months, trying to perfect our process. And literally hundreds of batches on Gatorade jugs to like really dial in what we were doing. Um, and before I knew it, like the beer started to taste great. And like John is super talented and so methodical, like just going down like the scientific method and making small tweaks every day. Um, and we got to a really exciting spot. And that's when we built the brewery around us in Connecticut. And it's kind of been off to the races since then. Like just after that, like we had our brewery, had the process to make great beer, and I've just been doing it ever since.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And what made you not want to go down the alcohol removal route and innovating upon that technology? What made you choose, let's go with natural fermentation in that process?
Yeah. And so our process is definitely proprietary. I think we're doing it different than anyone else out there. And like we've never seen anyone like write about our process or anything. So it's it's not as like cut and dry as like one step here or there. It's 10 to 12 changes in the brewing process versus like one machine. And like it's like removing alcohol does make sense in some circumstances too. Um, but really, I thought the non-alcoholic beer world had always been approached with like kind of a lazy way, where it was like we're gonna brew something, not really put much thought into it, and at the end we're just gonna denature it. And a lot of the nuance of like in beer fermentation, wine fermentation, there's such special magic that happens, and it's so subtle, it's so nuanced, and to just run it through like a harsh machine doesn't respect those ingredients really. So yeah, we kind of started with we did sample. We've sampled plenty of technologies for sure. We just kind of started with the baseline that those technologies probably have too low a ceiling for what we want to do.
And were you worried about like the sustainability of that? Because I can only assume it's different for each type of beer. So was there like an issue in your brain that was like, hey, is this sustainable to make this in large amounts in like different types of beers, or was it like a one fits all? This is the way we're gonna make all of them, and that was like a good peace of mind for you.
So we kind of had to just believe that we'd be able to figure it out. Like things definitely changed from our first batches were just Gatorade jugs, and then we did 3.5 barrel system, that 20 barrel system. Then that went to 40 and 100 barrel batches, and now we're doing 300 barrel batches out here. So things definitely change at different sizes, but and it's different for most of our beers. Like it's not one single process. Like we in our experimentation, there were things like, say, 30 batches in, we discovered we're like, wow, that would be great for like a goes sometime in the future, or this would be great for like a Hefeweizen at some point. And so we cataloged those things, and we've just come back to them, really.
Absolutely. And was it difficult from a business perspective to have someone like John or investors to get passionate about what you're doing to someone who's never brewed beer, who's had a great idea, and yeah, how do you sell that?
Or even as you mentioned earlier, nobody was talking about it when you started. So you walk into the room already 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. How'd you hit that grand slam to win the game?
So it was, I won't lie, it was pretty dark. I mean, even before I got to John, I got rejected by probably 200 brewers, taking like the exact same things I talked to John about to them. And I think I definitely don't blame, and like a lot of those no's were very nice, and they were like, you probably want to save your money. Like no one's ever asked us for this type stuff. And I think no one asking for it was a combination of like there were no products there. And there had literally never been exciting products there. And so there'd been no marketing, and it was caught in this like vicious circle. And it took a heavy lift to break out of that circle, where that first summer I did 65 athletic events myself, where I was literally just handing out 100 to 500 beers a weekend, literally putting them in people's hands, telling them about it, when it would make sense in the week. And like those first 1,000 true fans we had, like were definitely brick by brick, like meeting them in person and telling them about it. And if we had just like launched and tried to like send beer out into the distribution, it wouldn't have sold like any better than O'Doul's. Yeah, in terms of raising money, we didn't have product when we raised money, which was made it twice as hard. And a lot of people who I thought would be definite yeses were just a lot of people just as a hard stop don't invest pre-revenue also.
Which if you don't mind me asking, was John in the picture at this point? Was John in the picture?
Yeah, right. When I started raising money, John had just joined up.
Okay.
Yeah, but we didn't have any beer yet, so none of our angel investors got to taste beer before they invested. So yeah, I did about pretty much the first half of the day we would homebrew, and then the second half of the day I'd like go into New York City or go somewhere and do either a dinner pitching to like 5 people, or reach out to like the state of Connecticut Angel Investor Network. I did about 120 investor meetings, and found a great core of 60 people who like really got it, really believed in the mission. I'd kind of written like almost like a white paper on what I thought the space could be. Like I didn't have any evidence except what was happening internationally that it could be. But a lot of people it was a lot of small checks, like $5,000 and $10,000, and then that group has been like our support system all the way along and been along for the ride. And it's been really fun to like share our challenges monthly with them, and we get a lot of great ideas from them, just being vulnerable and honest. So it's been really fun to start a small business. And like literally that part sounds hard, but like there's really no easy part in starting a small business. Like even doing the smallest things is always tough.
Absolutely, because it's wild to see that you went from like small angel investors to people like JJ Watt. of getting involved. You know what I mean? And just the progression of how fast it went. So can you maybe walk through like the progression of Athletic?
Well, a lot of those, like, he's still just an angel investor. He's he's a well-known investor, but a lot of our angel investors that I network to were really well-connected people who got it and have been super resourceful in helping us tackle the next steps. Yeah, it's really those like building those relationships and like putting up results and doing what you say you would do and like with a 6, 12, 24-month track record to an investor group of like executing every month on saying what you're going to do. Um, a lot of trust is built then, and people get real comfort around the business and invest more and more. And so we've been super lucky with that initial investor team. It was really hard to meet them, but that group of 60 people has stood by us the whole way. We're very fortunate to have a lot of people ask to invest, and unfortunately, we haven't had an opportunity because that group has really supported us the whole way along.
Absolutely. And how about the progression of like your products? So as we all know, you have a new facility in California and San Diego specifically. So how did you get from Connecticut to San Diego? How was that process?
Yeah. Well, we thought we'd built our Connecticut brewery, which, I mean, at the time we built Connecticut, it was the only production facility in the country dedicated to non-alcoholic beer. And I think our San Diego facility now is the only other one. I think there's only 2 facilities that only do non-alcoholic. Um, but yeah, our Connecticut brewery, we thought we'd built it for, I, at the last minute, I'd gone from 10-barrel brew house to 20-barrel brew house, and I thought that was like a huge leap of faith, and I thought we had built now a brewery for 3 to 5 years at least, and we outgrew it in like 10 months, doubled the tank space, and outgrew it again in 3 months. And so we were really scrambling in 2019 to make more beer. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but it was like every day we would put new beer on the website at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it would sell out by like 7:15, and then we'd be out of stock for the day. And it was a really tough supply constrained year. So we went looking for a bigger brewery, and San Diego was like perfectly geographically diversified across the country.
Absolutely. I'm glad you talked about, how popular your beers are, because the way that we talk about like Athletic, you have like that Apple like following of like when things come out, people latch on to it. So how do you create that brand? Like what is the recipe? Is it just a great product and quality brand equals Apple like following? You know what I mean?
Well, I will say, like every marketing email we send out, like I'm like the first guy to jump in and purchase it. Like I'm in there buying full price beer every week, and like yesterday with the Tucker's release, like I bought 2 cases of that, and like I'll be drinking that in a few days when it arrives. It's really a product that like John and I started brewing like for ourselves. It was like such an obvious need in our life. Like we just want great beer that fit into like weeknights, day drinking, golf course, if you're driving a car. Like there's so many times when alcohol doesn't make sense in your life, and for a lot of people that's never, like where alcohol doesn't have any part of their life. But for most adults, like um there's probably another 50% of occasions where alcohol doesn't fit in like those days or times of the day. So we really wanted to make beer that fits really well in any time of the day. um, in terms of the recipes is just like having fun and listening to our community, and like we make beer that like not only do we want to drink, but like we have our ear to the ground, like hearing what people say, and like asking people what do they want. We ask our club members what beers do they want us to brew. We ask chat rooms, and we definitely take DM feedback seriously. And so really a lot of our ideas have been either crowdsourced, our internal team, and um, so, but we have pilot brew houses in both breweries, a 7-barrel out here and a 3.5-barrel in Connecticut. Um, and so we can sell stuff either in our tap room or online in very small batches, and just get feedback from people and see what people like. And then we scale it up to either 40 or 100 barrels. And if people love it, it goes to 300 barrels. So definitely, it gives us a lot of flexibility. I mean, a lot of very random last minute ideas make it into the brewing lineup, which is super fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's when your company's real is when you're buying your own product, right? That's how much you believe in it. It's
I mean,
crazy of just how successful Athletic has been. You know what I mean? Like I hear all the good things, but like has anything gone wrong? You know what I mean? I feel like everything, like it was hard for you to do this in the first place. Like you went through the ringer, hard to get money, and like you figured out how to make it. But like the daily struggles, like what has anything happened wrong? It just seems like a beautiful, like a movie, like a story that just was hard at first and then you figured out and happy ending. You know what I mean? But like what was the struggle? What was
well, I will say like marketing Athletic and like our story and our place in the world has been so easy because we really did just model it out of what we wanted in our lives and like where I thought people who would want good non-alcoholic beer would be aggregating. Like I was going to run a lot of those Spartan races anyway, so it made sense for me to bring 500 beers with me and hand them out after. Um, and um, like, so it like marketing is easy because it's like we don't have to like think like, oh, what do we think people would want or like who are we pretending to be today? It's literally like for the first 2 years of the company, like we didn't have a marketing department. It was just me on my iPhone, and like I would see things in the course. Like it would get to like 11 o'clock, and I'd be like, "All right, like what am I going to put on social media today?" And I would just put something from like what was going on that day up on social media, and it'd be either like at a race, we're brewing this today, we're packaging this today, and so like marketing was like really just like a transparent look at what was going on and what we were excited about. But yeah, something crazy goes wrong every single day. I mean, um, I guess like early on, like John and I know every inch of our Connecticut brewery. Like something went wrong in every foot of that building, and like we had machines that um, there was a while where there was an open valve somewhere up high in the brewery that we eventually found like weeks later while we were troubleshooting it. But our glycol chiller was erupting and like exploding all over the parking lot for like a week. And so John and I basically 24 hours had to rotate who was in a lawn chair by the glycol chiller for like a week basically. And like there's things like that, but basically like every week of our company. So I'm trying to think of like I don't know. Even today, me and Jamie, who's our COO, are just at the brewery packing like 1,000 e-commerce packages to try to keep up with. Had a lot of stuff going on this week, so like there's like constant COVID scares now too, and like we just ask people to stay home, and like everyone just like kind of flows out into the brew house to like make sure beer gets canned and sent out in e-com and stuff. So, but I will say like something crazy goes wrong every day, and like whatever we're worried about right now, if we just wait like 2 weeks, we can look back and be like, I can't believe we were worried about that at that time. Like this is so much more serious. So
how did you guys adapt to the pandemic? Because it seems as though you guys were very successful throughout. So how as a CEO, like how'd you attack that beast throughout the pandemic?
yeah, and I will say it's the category and community is just growing in an awesome fashion, and so I just don't think COVID was going to stop that. Like keep like you guys are a perfect example of that, like people sharing the word of and like people being like transparent about like, hey, I like this is great, like this community and these health choices everyone's making are awesome and wanting to share that. And like so I don't think COVID was going to stop like the category and the excitement in it. But I will say like 90% of our marketing ideas for the year probably got taken off the table. So it probably would have been like a much bigger year for everyone in the category had COVID not happened, obviously. In terms of our company, I mean, really just being really looking out for our team, our community, our trade partners, and if anyone's sick at all, we're off the road or even like suspected to be like tired or a cold. For a while, we'd split into 4-hour shifts so that like we'd have people like really chopped up, and if one person on those shifts, we could just remove the whole shift and go 8 hours then with the other shift. And really just team transparency too, making sure everyone knows what's going on, that like, and sharing things. So but yeah, I'd say transparency, reassuring the team, and just really looking out for the team, community, and our trade partners.
Absolutely. And plus quality product, plus, ran well as a company, positive outcomes to say the least. So I guess what is the future of Athletic as of now? Like we know that we just came out with the Seltzer. So can you maybe talk about that and maybe what you think about potentially putting out in the future?
I mean, I'm loving the Seltzer. Seltzer was kind of like a similar thing where it was a product that we wanted. So originally we were like, with like hops, like it doesn't always work out that like a bag of hops is exactly what the recipe needs. And so we had all these like leftover small amounts of hops, and we were putting them in bright tanks and making our own hop seltzer in the brewery. And using like, we had like that fruit stand series last summer, and so we're putting fruit in, then hops, and like we were kind of making it out of leftover ingredients. And we realized as a team we were just crushing a ton of it. And like people are having like 5 cans a day on our team, and then people, we were giving it out in the tap room just for people to drink for free. And people started asking if they could buy it. And so before we knew it, we had like 12 different stacks of flavor and hop combinations, and it was just getting really exciting, and we all loved it. And so it's another thing that kind of merged out of what we wanted to drink during the day, or different, like there's different beer occasions versus like water and seltzer occasions a lot of times too. Like I know if people are like at a office place, it's often like tough to like explain a beer, or if you're behind the wheel of a car, like beer is probably not the best choice. um, so like there's a lot of places where seltzer may go better in the day. So there's that. But there's a lot of people too in the store who like are never going to walk to the beer section, but a lot of people walk to the seltzer section. So we think it's a great way to get people into the beer section for the first time. If they drink our seltzer, like it, look at the can, and they're like, oh, I wonder what else this Athletic Brewing makes. And then, so really
And
trying to
what
grow the
made you change the
category.
name with it?
Yeah, it was just something we were thinking about, like kind of thinking about like lunchbox or like hiking pack, like what are you throwing in your, like in your bag when you head out for the day. And so yeah, day pack was something we really liked.
Absolutely. Is this like a subsidiary then of Athletic? Is that how it is approached?
It's just a product for now.
Just a
Yeah.
product?
So yeah.
Absolutely. Chris, Ian, you got anything? 'Cause I could probably ask a billion questions to this man all day.
I was just, Bill, just very interested in the hometown harvest. There's a story behind it. So, am I correct? Every ingredient is from Connecticut. Is that right?
Right. So we actually did East and West Coast hometown harvest this year. So it started with there's some great local maltsters and hopsters in Connecticut. Thrall Family Malts is the oldest. It's actually the oldest continuous farm in the United States. They transitioned from tobacco to malt in Connecticut. So they make great, super high quality local malts. So we use that as the malt. And then Pioneer hops. But we also um, have used some in this beer, and others use from the Hudson Valley, like right up against the border of Connecticut, of Crosby Hop Farms too, which is like a B Corp certified local awesome ingredient supplier. Um, so we've done it both in Connecticut and California this year. Um, but just like a great hearty celebration style IPA. And it was really just John and I trying these ingredients and really wanted to do it justice in its own beer, rather than just do like a really small taproom pilot. So, but also to support local, like it's definitely not easy to, especially on the hop farming side, to like it's, I think like the Pacific Northwest is probably much more dependable and suited for hop growing. So the guys battling it out in Connecticut are doing a really good job growing hops. So we wanted to make sure to help do our part to support them as well.
Awesome. Could you talk a little bit about some of the? I know Athletic does a lot of charity work, and you have your own internal like environmental projects and everything. Could you talk a little bit about those and just kind of help get the word out more about them?
Yeah, for sure. So our Two for the Trails program is something we're super proud of. It was really in the business plan from day one. I mean, I've always been someone who runs a lot of ultras, does a lot of trail running, adventure hikes with my brother, and really just like the state of the world and climate these days is so scary, and like the prospect of future generations not being able to get outdoors and um, so we donate since day one. We've donated 2% of all sales to trail and park cleanups, and that it's really meant to be broad. So it could be anything from like an urban playground or park, all the way to like a super remote trail and hut system in Maine. And it gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of like just making the outdoors clean, safe, well maintained, and so yeah, last year we donated about 300,000 in our Two for the Trails program, and that was all in like small checks all over the country. And so it goes a long way on those projects, and then plus our team does trail days, and we're going to do more with like our ambassador team and like posting in the world where we're going to be doing these efforts to like just have a bigger impact in person. Um, but yeah, we're expecting that to grow significantly in the coming year, and has a huge impact across the country. And then, yeah, in our broader impact program too, 2020 was like the world definitely changed in a lot of ways, and we felt there was a lot more we could and should be doing than just focusing on trails. And so, in March and April, we stepped up with a really big and early donation to the National Restaurant Association Employee Relief Fund to help those dislocated employees, and donated $100,000 to that. Since June, like we very quickly like made a statement and made a bunch of donations to like help the groundswell of movement behind the Black Lives Matter movement and creating opportunity at the community level for all people. Since then, we've developed that into like a very comprehensive Jedi and impact program on our website that's under the values tabs. But kind of our thought on that is if we make our team more inclusive and diverse and impactful, it'll help the like end our communities. Then like we'll start with the team, community, our industry, and then the world. Where like really, if small companies start to make that impact, bigger companies are going to start to see that and kind of get bullied into it. And we really are excited for the moment when people start asking big companies like what they're doing and like really pushing on them. And so yeah, our like right now we have hard coded that about 3% of total sales go towards our impact program. So
That's awesome.
it'll be pretty big in the coming years, which is a lot of our investors like have dropped it into Excel and been like, just so you know, like what this looks like as the company grows. And our whole point is we want it to be an uncomfortably big amount of impact. So
uncomfortably big impact. I love that term.
so.
Marketing slogan right there for it.
Yeah, right.
So what are you guys drinking these days?
I'm drinking my last day pack.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm in Ireland at the minute, so I've only tried a couple of athletics when I was over in the States last summer, but Chris sent me a Dark and Gardy, which I just tried recently. That was
Awesome.
really nice. But I've tried, when I was in the States, I tried Rum Wild, Upside Down, and Cerveza Atletica.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Cerveza was actually the first beer I ever tried, the first AF beer I ever tried on draft, so that was really cool.
Oh, very cool. Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And I just had to run wild. I left it outside of my room. But yeah, that's one of my prime time faves. But I think the Free Wave is definitely my favorite, but the IPAs are definitely the route to go.
Oh yeah, there was Athletic definitely made both Tyler's and my top 7 lists on our website. There's a couple different athletic. I think we both had Free Wave. We both had Run Wild, and I think you had one other, Tyler, as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Did you?
You had the all out, did you?
The All Out.
Yeah.
All Out. Yeah, just basically you guys won our top 7 to say the least.
Pretty much, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm always curious to hear what people's favorites are, and yeah, a little hack out there is FreeWave is now available year-round on subscription, but not like it. At some point, it was supposed to be February 15th, but it might be March 1st now. FreeWave will be available in stores nationwide starting then too. So
You heard it here, folks, kids.
yeah, definitely some breaking news, but also like a little backdoor hack there that FreeWave's available on subscription year-round.
Nice.
Do you think you'll ever eventually move into Europe?
Yeah, soon.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Yeah, so probably before April 1st will be available on e-commerce. Yeah,
Excellent. Brilliant.
So, soon.
And how are you scaling that? Like, just my business brain, I'm just thinking, because you guys have done magnificent amounts of scaling and you guys have adapted so well to it. But like, how do you plan on, do you have a brewery then in the UK? Are you planning on doing that, or?
No, we do have some construction going on behind the scenes for sure. So we won't be shipping from San Diego to Europe, that's for sure. But yeah, for now it'll be our Connecticut brewery sending beer overseas.
Excellent.
That's amazing to hear. I mean, gosh, the amount of people we can help ensure that Athletic's going to be over there is going to be, they're going to be so excited. I mean, guilt-free pints. We know so many people who are just obsessed with Athletic and who have just tried some. And we tried, like Chris has sent them, you know, some beers, and it's like, holy crap, like, wow. Like, this is so much better.
I don't know if I'm going to get in legal trouble with the amount that I've confessed to sending beers across state lines, across international lines.
Across Atlantic Oceans, etc.
I'm going to get some lawyer showing up at my door.
Yeah, but it's definitely an exciting time. I think you're definitely, how would you say, leading the troop of the AFC, and you know, we tip our hat to you and the whole team at Athletic. You know, it's amazing to see.
Yeah, I mean, we're just having fun with it. It's there, like the idea of velocity from the community and our team, and like so much of the spaghetti we throw at the wall like ends up making that into the world. It's really fun. Like, someone will walk in and have like a great coffee, and we'll be like sharing the coffee and be like, oh my goodness, like this is the best coffee I've had in a long time. And then before you know
I
it,
started. Or is it free Ascent or something? Smooth Ascent? Yeah.
Yeah, so Smooth Ascent was with Rise, our friends in Connecticut. So they're like, we've kind of been growing in different categories with them and like just friends. And so, yeah, we made the like that smooth, like cold brew stout with them. But we've got a new coffee porter coming. It's a West Coast based coffee company. That'll be really fun.
And what's the one that you did with Boulevard Brewing in Kansas City? Because I love their Tank 7, and I was so mad that I couldn't get a hold of any of that collaboration.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was called Flying Start. It was really like a fresh, approachable IPA, different hop blend than Run Wild. But yeah, just a really fun beer. We had a good time with that.
In the back room and want to send some my way.
It might be at the Bevmo out here. I'll check it out. I'll keep an eye out for some. Yeah.
Awesome.
Trying to run around restacking some case stacks the past couple weeks of January here.
Nice. Wow.
Beautiful. Guys, any questions? Anything else? I mean, I could ask 1,000 things, but I mean, to kind of conclude things, I just gotta say, like, you've done an amazing job, and I am proud to just be in this scene because of Athletic. I mean, you guys have done great things for the industry and so many lives, and me actually witnessing it is just very magical. And I look forward to, you know, still being a part of Athletic without even being a part of it, which is kind of the beauty of it. And just from a business perspective, like, gosh, the amount of things like I could like just learning from you and just what you do, like you're a definition of a true leader, and you're definitely the leader of this movement. And I look forward to seeing Athletic progress and being a part of it. So
thank you guys so much. I mean, I'm really just a guy, and there's a lot of people on our team and a lot of people in the community, and we're just kind of all having fun and growing together. So really fortunate for the community, and that it's just like such a positive place too. It's improving people's health. People are having fun. Great new beers that like people have never had the exposure to in the non-alcoholic world. It's like it's an amazing time in non-alcoholic beer. So we're super excited just to play our part in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you again, Bill, for joining us. This was an incredible conversation, incredible chat, one that the three of us have literally been planning since day one of, all right, we're doing a podcast. Who are we getting on? Bill Shufelt, someone else, Bill Shufelt. When are we getting Bill Shufelt on?
Yeah, we can call it. We can, after this episode goes out, we can quit the podcast. We've achieved everything.
We've done it.
Yeah. Just before you go, Bill, man, take a quick photo if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing like a Zoom selfie. You don't get to do that very often.
Thank you so much, Bill. Honest to God, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great to talk to you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
You
Stay
too.
safe. Cool.
You too, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
Cheers.
Absolutely.